Rick Stroud, who covers the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who joins us now. Rick, thank you for joining us. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Dan. Nice to be here.
All right. The Jameis Winston situation where it looks like he could be suspended for 3 games. How surprised are you?
Not surprised at all. I mean, I think the NFL, was likely to do this just because of the liability in a way and his history. Look, we don't know after 8 months of a forensic investigation what they found, what they learned, right? It's a he said, she said situation maybe. But we know what he came into the league with. I just think that, I don't expect him to appeal it. I think that it could have been more games potentially. It still potentially could be more if he doesn't, from what I understand, doesn't accomplish certain things the NFL is going to require of him that they likely won't announce. But, this is the thing that the Bucs feared. When you take a guy number 1 overall and he has the history he had. I mean, remember, he went to the league 2 weeks before the draft on his own and sat down with the commissioner and spent 5 hours on Park Avenue trying to convince the NFL that they would have no trouble with him, during his pro career. And here he is.
Why won't he appeal this? Because judging from what is being said, it's he said, she said about this incident. And did he have a teammate there or a friend who was there as well to witness this?
Yeah, well, I mean, the appeal is still potential, but from what I understand, he won't. And I think the reason is that he wants to move forward. There's also a financial component to this. Next year, if he does play for a 5th-year club option at $20 million, that's significantly less than what he makes now. So you're talking about, maybe $125,000 forfeiture of checks. That's not the main thing, though. I think primarily he wants to get it behind him. We know these appeals haven't gone well. They're usually not the appeal of the decision. It usually becomes whether or not the NFL has the right to met out punishment, and the NFL has won in the courts. So, this is something that there's been a lot of dialogue between the league, between Jameis' representatives. I think it's something that they're not happy about, but comfortable enough to be committed to getting it behind him and moving forward.
Because Tampa knew about this, and they decided to pick up his option for that 5th year. That's just under $21 million. Was that surprising at all? Were they rolling the dice on this, Rick?
Not so much, Dan, because the $21 million is guaranteed only against injury. So if he gets to March, no matter what happens this season, and he can pass a physical, the Bucs are not committed to honoring that contract. Okay. It is a club option. So there wasn't a lot of risk financially. It was kind of a no-brainer. There's still a chance that he wouldn't get suspended at that point. So they went ahead and picked it up, but it really doesn't mean anything.
How is he viewed locally in Tampa?
Well, I think it was mixed. Certainly when he came into the league, he's won over some fans in Tampa because of his production. Now, here's the thing. He's won 18 games in 3 years. For a number 1 overall pick, he was on some bad football teams. That's usually the case. But that's not a lot of winning, Dan. And, 3-10 last year, he had some injuries. So, people were still waiting for him to sort of, honor his promise as a number 1 overall pick. But the reaction has been interesting. I mean, I think you have, just fans being fans who will attack the NFL, say there's no evidence, want to see the evidence, and they confuse this with a court of law. This is a business. This is something that was collectively bargained. The league doesn't need, a criminal charge or a civil complaint. So it's, I think people are still caught in fandom wanting to know why the NFL can do this and wanting due process that doesn't necessarily exist. But, again, think about Jameis Winston's history going back to Florida State. I think it's pretty obvious why they did it.
We're talking to Rick Stroud, covers the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's got an odd personality, Rick. How would you describe that personality with Jameis Winston?
I would say that, he's charismatic as hell. He's extremely intense when it comes to football. He loves football. He spends a lot of time working on his craft. Some of it is a little contrived at times. I think he tries too hard to play a role. I think his charisma is natural. The position of quarterback doesn't require you to do anything more than perform at times. And, everybody on the staff has told him, hey, Jameis, less is more with you. You have everything. But there is this, this other side that we've seen that at minimum isn't very smart, right? I mean, things he has done, you could chalk up in college maybe, but these are serious accusations. When you have two, sexual assault-like allegations, and I know they're allegations, and I believe in the court system and all that, and he went through it at Florida State and was never charged. It's just there's something missing there. There's some disconnect there that you would put yourself in positions where you could forfeit perhaps your entire career. I mean, let's go forward and say he comes back, doesn't play particularly well. Maybe they win 6 or 7 games with him as a starter. Is a team going to give him $20 million and then, at that point, or $100 million, which is what you'd want to do with a franchise quarterback because of his history? I just think he's jeopardized too much.
Rick, great stuff. Thank you for joining us. Story we will obviously keep an eye on, and we appreciate your time.
Thanks, Dan.
That's Rick Stroud, covers the Buccaneers.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.